Second World War, also known as World War II, was a global conflict that lasted from 1939 to 1945. It involved the majority of the world's nations, including all of the great powers, and was fought between two major alliances. The Axis powers, led by Germany, Japan, and Italy, and the Allied powers, led by the United States, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union. The war resulted in the death of over 70 million people and caused significant social, economic, and political changes that shaped the world as we know it today. The causes of the Second World War. The Second World War was largely caused by the actions of aggressive regimes in Germany, Italy, and Japan. In the case of Germany, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party rose to power in 1933 and embarked on a campaign of territorial expansion and ethnic cleansing that ultimately led to the war. Italy, under the rule of Benito Mussolini, also pursued a policy of expansionism, while Japan sought to establish itself as a dominant power in the Pacific region. The beginning of the war. The war officially began on September 1, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland. This act of aggression prompted Great Britain and France to declare war on Germany, but they were unable to stop its rapid expansion across Europe. By 1941, Germany had conquered most of Europe and had begun to turn its attention to the Soviet Union. The War in Europe. The war in Europe was fought on multiple fronts, with Germany and its allies battling the Allied powers on land, sea, and air. The war was characterized by intense fighting and numerous major battles, including the Battle of Stalingrad and the Normandy invasion. The Allied powers eventually gained the upper hand, with the Soviet Union driving the Germans back on the Eastern Front and the Allied forces invading Germany from the west. The War in Asia and the Pacific. The war in Asia and the Pacific was fought primarily between Japan and the Allied powers. Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 brought the United States into the war, and the two sides engaged in intense fighting throughout the Pacific region. The war culminated in the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, which ultimately led to Japan's surrender and the end of the war. The impact of the Second World War. The Second World War had a profound impact on the world, both during and after the conflict. It resulted in the deaths of millions of people and caused widespread destruction and displacement. The war also led to significant social, economic, and political changes, including the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers and the creation of the United Nations. Conclusion. The Second World War was a defining moment in human history. It was a global conflict that involved nearly every nation in the world and resulted in the deaths of millions of people. The war had a profound impact on the world, both during and after the conflict, and its legacy continues to shape our world today. For more videos, subscribe Novel Notions. Beyond the immediate impact of the war, the Second World War also led to significant long-term changes in the political and social landscape of the world. For example, the war played a critical role in the eventual collapse of European colonialism and the rise of new nations in Asia and Africa. Additionally, the war spurred advances in science and technology, particularly in the areas of aviation, weaponry, and communication, which continue to shape our world today. Perhaps one of the most significant impacts of the Second World War was its role in shaping the post-war international order. The creation of the United Nations and the Bretton Woods system helped to establish a new framework for international cooperation and economic development, while the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union defined much of the geopolitical landscape for the next several decades. Another important legacy of the war was its impact on civil rights and social justice movements. The horrors of the Holocaust and other atrocities committed during the war helped to galvanize support for the civil rights movement in the United States and around the world, while the war also led to a greater recognition of the importance of human rights and democracy. While the Second World War is often viewed as a tragedy, it is important to remember that it also brought out some of the best aspects of human nature. The bravery and selflessness of those who fought against tyranny and oppression, as well as the sacrifices made by civilians on the home front, are a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. In conclusion, the Second World War was a complex and multifaceted conflict that continues to shape the world we live in today. While the war was marked by tragedy and loss, it also had a profound impact on the social, political, and economic landscape of the world. As we continue to grapple with the legacy of the Second World War, it is important to remember the lessons learned from this pivotal moment in history, and to work towards creating a more peaceful and just world for all. Subscribe Novel Notions for more videos.